The story of Enoch, the man who walked with God. Some stories begin with noise. They begin with armies moving across plains, with kings lifting their hands above crowds, with the hard sound of bronze, stone, fire, and fear. They begin with the clamor of men trying to prove that they are powerful, trying to write their names into the earth before the wind can take them away. But the story of Enoch begins differently. It begins almost like a breath. A man walked upon the early earth, beneath stars that seemed younger than ours, across fields where the evening light rested softly on the grass. He lived, he listened, he loved, he prayed. And then one day, without sickness, without a grave, without the long shadow of death closing over him, he was gone, not lost, not taken by violence, not hidden by the wilderness, gone because God had taken him. And if you are listening now in the quiet of your own room, perhaps with the lights low, perhaps with the day already fading from your shoulders, you do not need to chase this mystery quickly. You can let it come near slowly. You can let the old world open like a door in the dark. Tonight, we follow Enoch, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a path to be walked. We will move gently through the ancient generations, through names that sound like distant bells, through a world growing heavy with human pride, and through the life of one man who chose quiet nearness over noise. We will not rush toward the moment when he vanished. We will let the road carry us there, step by step, as though we too are walking beneath the evening sky. So settle your breath. Let the room around you become simple. Let the story become slow. Long before Enoch's name was spoken, there was Adam, the first man, carrying memory like a wound and like a treasure. He remembered a garden no later child had seen. He remembered trees whose leaves moved in the nearness of God. He remembered the sound of divine presence in the cool of the day, when the air was gentle and the world had not yet learned to be afraid. From Adam came Seth, a child of mercy after grief. From Seth came Enosh, and in those days people began to call upon the name of the Lord. The world was not healed, but a thread of remembrance remained. It passed from father to son, from mother to child, from firelight to firelight, from one generation's trembling voice to the next. These were not merely names written in a list. They were lives. Hands planted grain, eyes watched weather. Children learned where the water ran after rain. Old people sat near the entrances of their dwellings and told stories while the shadows lengthened. And behind the ordinary rhythm of eating, sleeping, working, and waking, there was a quiet question that would not leave the faithful line. Can a human being still walk with God? The world around them did not always ask that question. Another line was building, shaping, forging, inventing. The descendants of Cain learned the strength of metal, the sweetness of music, the usefulness of animals, the pride of cities. There was beauty there, because human beings still carried the image of their maker. But beauty without humility can become restless. Skill without worship can become sharp. A city can glow with lamps and still feel cold inside. So the old world became divided, not only by families, but by desires. Some wanted to be remembered by heaven, some wanted only to be remembered by men. And into that world, Enoch was born. His father Jared named him Enoch, a name carrying the sense of dedication, training, and being set apart. Whether Jared understood the full weight of that name, we cannot know. But sometimes a name is like a seed placed in the soil long before the tree appears. As a child, Enoch would have known the softness of ordinary things, the warmth of bread, the smell of smoke, the lowing of animals at dusk. the quiet pressure of a father's hand guiding him along a path. He would have heard the ancient stories again and again until they were no longer distant tales, but part of the air he breathed. He heard of Eden. He heard of loss. He heard of mercy. He heard that God had not abandoned the world, even when the world wandered from him. And perhaps, as happens with certain souls, the story did not remain outside him. It entered him. It became a hunger. Other boys may have dreamed of strength, land, reputation, or the praise of their kin. Enoch may have dreamed too, for he was human and lived among human hopes. But beneath every ordinary dream, another longing moved quietly. He wanted to know the God of the stories, not only hear about him, not only repeat his name, know him. There is a difference between hearing that a spring exists beyond the hill and kneeling there yourself, cupping the cold water in your hands. Enoch wanted the water, so he learned to seek silence in the early morning. Before voices rose and tools struck wood, he would walk where the dew had gathered. The earth was cool then. The sky was pale. Birds had not yet filled the branches with sound. In that hour, the world seemed less certain of itself, as if creation were still remembering who had made it. Enoch listened. He listened with more than his ears. He listened with the inward part of a man, the place where fear can soften into trust and questions can become prayer. At first, perhaps nothing seemed to happen. The sun rose. The workday began. People called his name. Life continued. But the soul is shaped by repeated attention. A path appears where feet return again and again. Morning after morning, Enoch returned. Evening after evening, he remembered. And slowly, what had been only longing became companionship. The scriptures say it simply: Enoch walked with God. There is no need to make those words louder than they are. Their quietness is part of their wonder. He walked with God, not merely thought about God, not merely feared God from a distance, not merely obeyed rules while his heart remained elsewhere. He walked with God as one life moving beside another, as a friend keeps pace with a friend upon a long road. Imagine him beneath the wide morning sky, the hem of his garment brushing the grass, his steps unhurried. Imagine the silence around him becoming full, not empty. Imagine the nearness of God, not as terror, but as peace too deep for words. There may have been days when Enoch spoke much, pouring out concern for his family, grief for the world, questions about the future. There may have been days when he said almost nothing. Friendship does not always require speech. Sometimes it is enough to walk beside the one who knows you completely. And through these walks, Enoch changed, not suddenly, as a lamp is lit. Slowly, as dawn enters a room, his speech became gentler. His judgments became clearer. His patience deepened. He saw how quickly people chased what faded, and how slowly they turned toward what endured. He saw that the proud were often afraid beneath their pride, and that the violent were often prisoners of their own hunger. Because he walked with God, he began to see the world with mercy and sorrow together. This is important to remember. Enoch was not merely escaping the world. He was learning how deeply God loved it. The old earth was growing darker, yes, but it was still God's earth. The people becoming hard were still people formed from the breath of life. Every warning Enoch would later speak came not from cold anger, but from holy grief. And now, for a little while, let the story rest there. A man walking slowly, the grass silver with morning, the Creator near. No shouting, no hurry, only footsteps, breath, and the beginning of a friendship the world could not understand. In those first ages of mankind, time moved differently from the way we feel it now. Lives stretched across centuries. A child could grow old while an ancestor still remembered stories from near the beginning of the world. A grandfather's grandfather might still speak with a voice that carried the memory of Adam. The past was not locked away in scrolls or museums. It sat at the family fire. It walked slowly with a staff. It touched the heads of children and told them what had been. So imagine the young Enoch sitting in the glow of an evening flame while the older men spoke. Sparks climbed upward into the dark. Animals shifted quietly nearby. Women finished their work with tired hands and listening faces. Children leaned against their mothers, half awake, half dreaming, and the old stories came again. They spoke of the garden. They spoke of a world without thorns. They spoke of the grief that entered when trust was broken. They spoke of Abel, whose blood cried from the ground, and Cain, who went out carrying the mark of exile. They spoke of Seth, given in mercy, and of Enosh, in whose days people began to call upon the name of the Lord. Every name was a stone in a path. Every generation carried both sorrow and promise. To many, such stories might have become ordinary through repetition. A child hears something often enough and may stop hearing it at all. But Enoch was not that kind of listener. He did not let the sacred become stale. He listened as though beneath each word there was another word, softer and deeper. He wanted to know what Adam had felt when the garden closed behind him. He wanted to know why God still gave children, rain, fields, and breath to a world that had turned away. He wanted to know whether the sound of God walking could ever be heard again. Outside the circle of the faithful, the world was finding other songs. Cities rose, tools were shaped, music was discovered. Hands learned to pull bright sound from strings and breath from flutes. Bronze and iron answered the fire. People gathered in larger numbers and felt the strength that comes when many wills move together. There was laughter in those places. There was craft. There was beauty. It would be too simple to imagine the ungodly world as only dark. Human beings, even when wandering, still carry gifts. But gifts can become idols when gratitude fades. The music that could have become praise became entertainment for pride. The metal that could have served the weak became a weapon for the strong. The city that could have sheltered families became a tower of self-trust. Bit by bit, many people began to live as though the sky above them were empty. And still, every morning, the sun rose by mercy. Still, rivers flowed. Still, children were born. Still, the earth bore grain beneath the hands of people who did not thank the one who made the seed. This contrast shaped Enoch. He saw the world's brilliance and its emptiness. He saw that human skill could fill a city with sound and still leave the heart lonely. He saw that achievement could give a man a name, but not rest. He saw that power could silence others, but not silence fear. Perhaps that is why his own heart turned so strongly toward quiet. Where others hurried toward crowded places, Enoch walked toward open spaces. Where others measured a day by what they gained, Enoch began to measure a day by whether he had remained near. Where others asked what could be built, conquered, owned, or admired, Enoch asked what could be received from God. There was nothing weak in this. The quiet life is not always the easy life. To seek God in a loud age requires courage. To keep a tender heart in a hard world requires strength. To be gentle when others admire violence is a kind of resistance. Enoch's softness was not fragility. It was faith trained into steadiness. So he grew. He learned the work of his hands. He learned the seasons. He learned the faces of his kin. He learned when the flocks needed movement, when the grain needed attention, when a child's question needed an answer. And when silence was wiser than speech, he was not floating above life. He was deep inside it, but under every task ran the hidden river, God, the name in his thoughts, the presence he sought, the one toward whom his days slowly leaned. And as years passed, the leaning became walking. The first true walk with God may not have announced itself as a first. Sometimes the holiest thresholds are crossed before we know we have crossed them. Enoch may have gone out one morning with a burdened mind. Perhaps he had seen cruelty the day before. Perhaps he had heard men boasting of violence. Perhaps he had watched a child tremble before an angry father, or heard traders speak of cheating as if it were wisdom. He went out before sunrise. The earth was cool. The last stars were fading. A thin line of light rested at the edge of the world. He walked because his heart was too full to remain still. And somewhere on that path, loneliness ended. He became aware that he was not simply speaking into emptiness. He was heard. More than heard, he was accompanied. The one who had walked with man in the garden had drawn near again, not because the world had become innocent, but because grace had not become tired. Enoch walked. God was with him. The morning widened. Nothing in the village may have changed that day. The same tools were lifted. The same fires were lit. The same children ran in the dust. But Enoch came back different, in the way a room is different after a lamp has been placed within it. He did not need to explain everything. Some things are too deep to be explained at once. They must be lived until others can see their fruit. Over time, his family noticed. His eyes did not carry the same restlessness. His voice had room in it. When trouble came, he did not move quickly into panic. When anger rose around him, he did not feed it. When someone spoke foolishly, he heard not only the foolishness, but the wound beneath it. This is what nearness to God does when it is real. It does not only give information, it reshapes perception. Enoch became a man who could stand in a broken world without becoming broken in the same way. Years gathered around him as rings gather within a tree. He became a husband, a father, a man known among his people. Life did not stop being ordinary because he walked with God. Bread still had to be made. Children still cried in the night. Animals still wandered. Tools still broke. Weather still failed or blessed the fields. This matters too. The holiest life may still be full of ordinary tasks. Enoch did not walk with God by abandoning every human duty. He walked with God through them, through fatherhood, through labor, through conversation, through fatigue, through the small, repeated acts that make up a life. Then came the birth of a son, Methuselah. The name carried a shadow of meaning, a strange prophetic weight, as though the child himself had become a quiet clock within history. Later generations would understand that his long life stretched like mercy across the years before judgment. But to Enoch, first, he was a child, a small body breathing, a son held close, a face watched by firelight, and perhaps fatherhood opened in Enoch a deeper understanding of God's own heart. To love a child is to become vulnerable to hope and grief at once. You look upon the smallness of a son and know that the world is larger than your arms. You want to protect, guide, bless, and yet you cannot control every path. After Methuselah was born, Scripture tells us that Enoch walked with God 300 years. 300 years. To us, that number feels almost dreamlike. Civilizations can rise in less time. Languages can change. Great-grandchildren can become old. But for Enoch, those years were not merely a long life. They were a long companionship. Season after season, he walked. When spring returned and the earth softened, he walked. When summer heat shimmered over the fields, he walked. When autumn winds moved through dry grass, he walked. When winter nights became clear and cold, he walked, and the rhythm of it became his life's hidden music. The world may have measured men by flocks, houses, strength, sons, daughters, and influence. Heaven measured Enoch by nearness. He was near. Near when life was gentle. Near when the world was troubled. Near when people listened. Near when they mocked. For Enoch did not keep all he received to himself. A man who truly walks with God eventually carries something back to others. Not noise, not performance, but witness. So Enoch spoke. He spoke to a generation that had become skilled at forgetting. He warned them that human violence was not invisible. He warned them that proud words spoken against heaven did not dissolve into the air. He warned them that the world belonged not to the strongest, but to the one who made it. Yet, in this story, we do not need to imagine him shouting from a high stone with anger burning in his face. Perhaps there were moments of strong speech, because truth sometimes must stand upright. But the deeper tone of Enoch's life was not rage. It was sorrowful mercy. He knew judgment was real. He also knew patience was real. Every day that dawn came again was mercy. Every year Methuselah lived was mercy. Every harvest, every child born, every evening fire, every chance to turn back toward God was mercy. And after every heavy word, there must be a return to safety. So come back for a moment to the quiet path. Come back to the sound of sandals on earth. Come back to the old man of faith, though still strong in that ancient age, walking beneath a sky deep with stars. He has spoken what he must speak. Now he is silent again, letting the night hold what human hearts cannot yet understand. The stars do not hurry. The river does not argue. The wind moves softly through trees, and Enoch walks with God. This is the sleep rhythm of his story. The world grows heavy, and then the path grows quiet. A warning is given, and then peace returns. Human pride rises, and then the presence of God becomes the deeper reality. So the years continued. Children became adults. Families spread. The name of Enoch traveled farther than his footsteps. Some came to hear him. Some came to test him. Some came because sorrow had made them humble. Some came because curiosity is easier than repentance. Enoch received them as a man who had spent long years in the school of divine patience. He did not need to win every argument. He did not need to be admired. He did not need to be understood by all. A soul that has learned to walk with God is freed, little by little, from the hunger to be constantly seen by men. And perhaps this is one reason his story is so restful. He reminds us that the deepest life may be hidden. The most important walk may not be applauded. The truest transformation may happen slowly, where no one is keeping score. Let us linger inside those 300 years, because they are the heart of the story. A shorter tale would hurry past them, eager to reach the wonder of Enoch's disappearance. But for sleep, and perhaps for wisdom, we can remain with the walking itself. Imagine one ordinary day among those years. The morning begins before the village fully wakes. A pale blue hush rests over the ground. The fires from the night before have become red embers. Somewhere a child turns in sleep. Somewhere a woman rises quietly to begin the day's bread. A dog lifts its head, then lowers it again. Enoch steps outside. He is not escaping his life. He is preparing to return to it rightly. The air is cool. The path is familiar. Perhaps it leads between fields, past a low wall of stone, toward a place where the land opens and the sky can be seen without interruption. He has walked this way so often that his feet know the ground. He knows where rain gathers after storms. He knows which tree holds birds in the spring. He knows where the wind becomes stronger near the ridge. And in this familiar place, the Eternal meets him. Not because the place is magical, because attention has made it holy. The conversation may begin with gratitude. Thank you for breath. Thank you for the sleeping child. Thank you for the food that remains. Thank you for mercy that did not end in the night. Then perhaps grief follows. Look at what men are becoming. Look at the bitterness between brothers. Look at the laughter that hides cruelty. Look at the hearts that no longer remember you. And God, who sees more deeply than Enoch, draws nearer still. We are not told the words exchanged, and that silence protects the wonder. But we can imagine the shape of such companionship. God teaching him to see time with patience. God teaching him that judgment, when it comes, is never careless. God teaching him that holiness is not the opposite of love, but love purified of all falsehood. Enoch listens. The sun rises, the day begins, and he returns to ordinary work carrying extraordinary peace. Another day, perhaps, begins with weariness. Even the faithful become tired. A man can walk with God and still feel the heaviness of a world that resists truth. Enoch may have grown weary of warning those who laughed. He may have grieved over neighbors who chose violence again and again. He may have held Methuselah and wondered how long mercy would wait. So he walks. This time his steps are slower. The morning is gray. Clouds lie low. The ground smells of rain. He does not speak quickly. He lets his sorrow breathe. And slowly, in the presence of God, sorrow loses its poison. It remains sorrow, but it is no longer despair. This too is part of walking with God. Not every walk is bright. Some walks are made of trust when feeling is thin. Some walks are made of obedience when joy is quiet. Some walks are made of simply not turning away. Enoch learned all these forms of nearness over 300 years. He must have known mornings of delight and mornings of burden, evenings of clarity and evenings of unanswered question. Yet the record remains steady. He walked with God. The phrase does not say he ran with God. It does not say he climbed with God. It does not say he conquered with God. He walked. Walking is the pace of companionship. It is slow enough for conversation, steady enough for distance, humble enough for daily life. A walk does not demand spectacle. It asks only that one step follow another. And so Enoch became a man of holy pace. That pace made his warnings different. When he spoke of coming judgment, his words did not feel like the thrill of a man who wants disaster. They carried the ache of someone who has stood near the heart of God. He did not warn because he hated the world. He warned because he had learned how precious the world was. Imagine him speaking to a group gathered near the edge of a settlement. The day is warm. Dust rests on sandals. Some listeners stand with crossed arms. Some pretend not to care. A few are quiet because truth has already begun to trouble them. Enoch tells them that the Lord sees. He tells them that the earth cannot be filled with violence forever. He tells them that words spoken against heaven are not weightless. He tells them that mercy is still open. Then he pauses. And perhaps the pause is more powerful than the speech. In that pause, a bird calls from somewhere beyond the crowd. Wind moves over the ground. A child looks up at his mother. A man who had planned to mock Enoch finds that his throat has tightened. This is not a performance. It is a warning wrapped in patience. Some turn away. Some shake their heads. Some say, "He has always spoken like this." Where is this judgment? The days continue. The fields grow. The city expands. The music plays. The smith's fire burns. Nothing changes, but something is changing. Not all change is visible at first. The patience of God can be mistaken for absence by those who do not understand mercy. The delay of judgment can look like weakness to those who have never learned the strength of restraint. Enoch knew better. He had walked with the one whose silence is never empty and whose timing is never careless. So after the crowd leaves, he walks again. This is the loop of his life. Speak truth, return to God. Carry grief, receive peace. Walk again. In this way, Enoch's life became a lantern, not a blazing tower that blinds the eyes, but a lamp steady enough for travelers who truly wanted the road. Some came to him privately, a young man troubled by anger, a mother afraid for her children, an old man who had spent too many years in pride and now felt the emptiness of it. Enoch did not turn them into a crowd. He listened as one who had been listened to by God. To the angry, he may have said, "Do not let another man's darkness become your own." To the afraid, he may have said, "The Lord sees your child more clearly than you do." To the proud old man, he may have said, "It is not too late to bow the heart." These words are not written for us, but the shape of them belongs to the man we know from Scripture. A man who walked with God would have learned to speak to each soul not as a problem, but as a person. And when evening came, perhaps he sat with his own family. Methuselah grew. Other sons and daughters were born. The house was not silent. There were meals, questions, disagreements, laughter, fatigue. The prophet was also a father. The man of mystery also knew the daily tenderness of family life. This is another gentle truth in Enoch's story. Heavenly nearness did not erase human love. It deepened it. He could hold a child and know something of the father's patience. He could watch a son walk away across the field and feel both trust and ache. He could bless food with a gratitude made richer by communion. He could lie down at night and hear his household breathing, each life fragile, each life received. And after such evenings, before sleep, perhaps he would step outside one more time. The stars were many, the night was wide, the noise of the day had softened, and he would remember that the same God who walked with him in the morning had kept him through the day. For sleep, this is a good place to breathe. The ancient house is quiet. The children sleep. The fire lowers outside. Enoch stands beneath the stars, not needing to understand everything, because he knows the one who does. We can rest there for a moment. Then the story moves again. But gently, as Enoch aged through those long ancient years, he did not become less human. He became more truly human, more like what humanity was meant to be before fear and pride bent the soul. His holiness was not stiff, it was alive. His wisdom was not cold, it was warmed by compassion. His separation from the world's corruption did not make him distant from people's pain. Those who loved righteousness found strength in him. Those who loved sin found discomfort in him. A life close to God often becomes a mirror, not because it tries to expose everyone, but because light naturally reveals shapes. Some people thanked God for that light. Others turned their faces away. It had been this way since the beginning, and it would be this way long after Enoch. Abel's offering had revealed something in Cain. Noah's obedience would reveal something in his generation. The prophets, centuries later, would reveal the sickness of kings and nations. And one day, far beyond Enoch's earthly age, perfect light would come into the world, and men would love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. But tonight, we keep the thoughts soft. Light does not shout in order to be light. A candle only burns. Enoch's life burned like that. 300 years is a long time for a candle to remain steady in a windy world. Yet the flame did not go out, because it was fed from beyond itself. This is why the story of Enoch is not merely about one astonishing ending. It is about a hidden source. Without the walking, the translation would feel like a miracle disconnected from life. With the walking, it feels like the final step of a journey already begun. For centuries, Enoch had lived near the border between seen and unseen. He had become familiar with the presence of God. Earth had not disappeared, but heaven had drawn close. His prayers were not messages sent into distance. His life had become conversation. So perhaps the day God took him was not as strange to Enoch as it was to everyone else. For others, it was disappearance. For Enoch, it may have been continuation. Before we come to that day, let us return once more to Methuselah. The child with the heavy name lived longer than any other man named in the ancient record. His years stretched on and on, almost beyond imagination. Each year was a mercy. Each birthday was another silent announcement that judgment had not yet fallen. People could look at him and remember Enoch's warning. They could say, "The son still lives. The word has not yet come to pass. There is still time. Time can be a tender gift. It can also be misused." In the pre-flood world, many appear to have treated time as proof that nothing would change. The sun rose yesterday, so it will rise tomorrow. The river flowed last year, so it will flow forever. The preacher warned long ago, and still the feasts continue. The markets open. The music plays. The strong take what they want. But the patience of God is not permission. Enoch knew this. Noah would know it later. The faithful have always had to remember that mercy delayed is not mercy denied, and judgment delayed is not judgment canceled. Still, Enoch's warnings were never without invitation. If judgment were the only message, there would be no need to warn. Warning itself proves that mercy is speaking. A door still open does not need to scream. It waits, and waiting is sometimes the deepest form of kindness. So Enoch's life held two truths together. God is holy. God is patient. The earth cannot rebel forever, but any heart may turn while breath remains. That balance gave weight to his ministry and softness to his spirit. He did not flatten God into gentleness without justice, nor into justice without tenderness. He had walked too long with God to believe in a shallow version of him. And yet, for sleep, we do not dwell too long on the heaviness. We let the warning pass like distant thunder beyond the hills, real but far away, while rain has not yet come. Return again to the field. Return to Enoch walking after sunset. The ground holds the warmth of the day. A few insects sing in the grass. The sky is turning from violet to deep blue. Somewhere behind him, his family's fire glows. Ahead of him, the path bends toward a place where he has often prayed. He walks slowly. He knows the world is not well. He also knows he is not alone. The presence of God is not an idea beside him. It is the deepest fact of the evening. That is enough for the next step. And then the next. And then the next. This is how a life becomes faithful. Not by holding all centuries at once, but by receiving the next step in the presence of God. As the final season of Enoch's earthly life approached, no one around him may have sensed it. There may have been no visible sign that his days on earth were drawing to a close. His body, by ancient measures, was not at the end of a full patriarchal span. He was 365 years old, a number that later readers would notice with wonder, like the days of a year, a complete circle of days, and then beyond. But his family may have expected many more years with him. Methuselah still had centuries ahead. The world was still turning. Enoch still walked, still spoke, still returned home. Then came the day. It may have begun like any morning. That is the tenderness of it. No storm needed to announce it. No army of witnesses needed to gather. No monument needed to be prepared. Perhaps the light came softly over the hills. Perhaps Methuselah was somewhere among his own family, unaware that his father's earthly footsteps were nearly finished. Perhaps Enoch rose, as he had risen so many times before, and went out to walk. The air was familiar. The path was familiar. The nearness of God was familiar. And then, somewhere between one step and the next, earth gave way to heaven. Not as a terror, not as an ending, as a continuation. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. The sentence is quiet enough to fall asleep inside. He was not, for God took him. Those at home may have waited for his return. The hour may have passed when he usually came back. Someone may have looked toward the path. Then someone may have gone to search. A family member calling his name. A friend walking farther than usual. Eyes scanning the slopes, the riverbank, the line of trees. But there was no body, no sign of struggle, no place of death, only absence. And in that absence, a strange peace. For those who loved him, grief and wonder must have mingled. To lose someone without death is still to feel the ache of separation. Yet, what grief can fully darken a departure like that? Enoch had not been swallowed by the earth. He had been welcomed by God. The walk had simply continued beyond sight. This is where the story becomes especially gentle for the sleeping mind, because Enoch's end was not an end shaped like fear. It was an opening, a doorway, a soft lifting of the veil. His life whispered to all who came after him that death was not the final master, and that nearness to God was stronger than the oldest human dread. Long after Enoch was gone, his testimony remained. It remained in the voice of Methuselah, whose long years stretched across the world like a patient warning. It remained in family stories told by low fires. It remained in the imagination of children who looked at the stars and wondered where Enoch had gone. It remained in the faith of Noah, who would one day stand in another dark generation and obey what others could not understand. A life walked with God does not vanish when the person disappears. It leaves a path, not a path of stone, not a path marked on maps, a path of memory, of courage, of quiet invitation. And the invitation is not harsh. It does not demand that we become extraordinary by force. It simply asks whether we might turn, little by little, toward the presence that has always been nearer than we knew. Enoch's greatness was not that he conquered nations. He did not build the highest city. He did not gather the loudest fame. He did not leave behind a throne. He walked faithfully near to God again and again. And perhaps that is why his story belongs so well to the night. At night, when the world becomes quiet, we understand footsteps better than speeches. We understand presence better than achievement. We understand that not every mystery needs to be solved before sleep. Some mysteries are meant to become peaceful beside us. Still, let us not leave too quickly. Let us imagine the world after Enoch, because absence has a sound of its own. For days, perhaps weeks, people may have spoken of little else. Those who loved him spoke quietly, as if loud voices would dishonor the wonder. Those who had mocked him spoke with uncertainty, Some insisted that he must have wandered too far. Some said he had hidden himself. Some searched for explanations that could keep heaven at a safe distance. But the earth offered no answer. No grave appeared. No traveler brought news of him. No bones were found in ravine or field. The simplest explanation was also the most unsettling. God had taken him for the righteous. This was comfort. It meant the God Enoch loved had received him. It meant the long walks were real. It meant heaven was not merely a word spoken over firelight, but a home into which a man could be gathered. For the hardened, it was harder. Enoch's disappearance stood like a quiet witness against their certainty. They could ignore his sermons. They could laugh at his warnings. They could turn away from his face. But how could they explain a man who was not found because God had taken him? And yet human hearts are skilled at escaping what they do not wish to receive. Many went back to their work. Many returned to their pride. Many let the wonder fade into rumor. The city resumed its music. The smith returned to his fire. The ambitious returned to their plans. Children were born who never heard Enoch's voice, only the stories of him. And as with all stories, some believed deeply, some listened politely, and some forgot. But the faithful did not forget. They told it carefully. They told it at dusk when children were quiet enough to hear. They told it on nights when the stars were unusually clear. They told it when someone died, to remind the grieving that death was not stronger than God. They told it when wickedness seemed to win, to remind the weary that God sees the hidden life. There was a man named Enoch. He walked with God. He pleased God, and God took him. A short story can hold a long hope. Noah, born later in that same ancient world, would inherit more than a family line. He would inherit testimony. He would grow up within a world where the memory of Enoch still lingered, and the life of Methuselah still stretched onward. Noah would learn that obedience may look strange to a generation that has forgotten God. He would learn that one man's faith can become shelter for many. He would learn that warnings can be mocked until the rain begins. Perhaps, on some quiet evening, Noah heard the story of his great-grandfather Enoch and felt something settle inside him. Perhaps he heard that Enoch walked with God, and later, when his own age became violent and corrupt, he knew that walking with God was still possible. This is how faith moves through generations, not always by thunder, often by memory, often by a story repeated with care, often by one life showing another life where the path begins. The old world before the flood was not saved by Enoch's testimony in the way we might wish. Many did not listen. Many remained lost in their own desires. But testimony is never wasted simply because some refuse it. Light is still light even when eyes close against it. And the story crossed the waters, through Noah, through his sons, through the long unfolding of human history. The memory of Enoch survived. Later writers would look back and speak of him with awe. He became a sign of faith, a witness that God rewards those who seek him, a prophet who saw judgment beyond his own age, a man whose life pointed quietly toward resurrection hope. But tonight, we do not need to analyze every later meaning. We can receive the simple shape. A world was noisy. A man became quiet. God drew near. The man walked. The walk continued beyond death. That is enough. Sometimes enough is the most peaceful word. Now let the story turn inward gently, not as a command, but as a resting place. There may be noise in your own world, not the ancient noise of Cain's cities or the hammering of early bronze, but the modern noise of messages, worries, unfinished tasks, old regrets, tomorrow's questions. The human heart has always found ways to become crowded. Enoch's story does not ask you to solve all of that tonight. It simply offers an image a path, a slow walk, a presence beside you. The day can be unfinished, and still you may rest. The world can be troubled, and still there can be peace. You can lay down the need to understand every hidden thing. Enoch did not walk because he controlled the future. He walked because he trusted the one who held it. So now, as the night deepens, imagine the ancient path one final time. The fields are dim, the sky is wide, a breeze moves through the grass. Far away, the old world is still troubled, still restless, still full of human wanting. But here, on this path, there is calm. There is a man whose heart has learned the rhythm of God. There is a presence beside him. There is another step, and another, and then no more need for earth beneath his feet, only nearness, only peace, only the walk continuing where our eyes cannot follow. Let that be enough for tonight. Let the unfinished wonder remain open. Let the name Enoch drift softly through the dark, not as a riddle, but as a reminder. You do not have to carry the whole world into sleep. You do not have to solve every sorrow before morning. You may release the noise. You may return to quiet. You may rest beneath the same heaven that watched over the ancient paths. And somewhere beyond the edge of sight, the story is still walking onward, softly, slowly, peacefully, into the deep mercy of God. Now, before the story closes, we can walk once more through the earliest memory of the world, not in a hurry, but the way one turns over an old piece of cloth and notices the threads. The generations before Enoch were not merely a list of fathers and sons. They were the slow carrying of a flame through wind. Each name held a room of human life. Each name stood beneath the same sky and asked, in its own way, what it meant to live east of Eden. Adam lived with remembrance, sharper than any later person could know. To him, the earth was never only earth. Every tree could remind him of trees once nearer to glory. Every evening breeze could carry the ache of a voice he had once known without fear. When he looked upon his children, and his children's children, and the generations multiplying around him, he must have felt both wonder and sorrow. Wonder, because life continued. Sorrow, because every birth happened outside the garden gate. Seth grew in that atmosphere of grief and mercy. He was not Abel returned, because no child can replace another. But he was a sign that God still gave. His very life said that judgment had not erased kindness. Through Seth, the line of remembrance continued. Through Enosh, men began to call upon the name of the Lord, and that phrase is like a small lamp in the dimness of early history. To call upon the name of the Lord is to admit need. It is to look upward. It is to understand that human life is not self-sufficient. Perhaps they gathered at the edge of the evening and spoke the name of God softly, as if the sound itself steadied them. Perhaps they sang in simple tones, not with the polished music of cities, but with the sincerity of people who knew they were frail. Perhaps children learned to bow their heads before they understood all the words. Faith often begins as atmosphere before it becomes understanding. From Enosh came Canaan. From Canaan came Mahalalel. From Mahalalel came Jared. And from Jared came Enoch. The names moved across time like stepping stones over dark water. Some names carried the meaning of human frailty. Some carried praise. Some carried dissent. Then came Enoch, dedicated, trained, set apart. It is a restful thing to imagine that long chain of memory. No printing presses, no libraries, no stone archives filled with quiet dust, only voices, only repetition, only the faithfulness of one generation telling the next what must not be forgotten. At night, an old man would say, "Listen," and the young would listen, or not listen, as young people always have. The story would be told again. The garden, the fall, the promise, the mercy, the wandering, the calling, the hope, and somewhere among those listening children, Enoch heard not only a family story, but a personal summons. The old world was not silent around him. Cain's line had built its own kind of memory. They remembered achievement. They remembered invention. They remembered names attached to skill and craft. Jabal, associated with tents and livestock. Jubal, with harp and flute. Tubal-Cain, with bronze and iron. These names too became a kind of genealogy, not of worship, but of human capacity. And we can speak of these things gently, without denying their beauty. A tent can shelter a family. A herd can feed children. A harp can soothe grief. Iron can shape a plow. The trouble was not that humans created. The trouble was that many forgot the Creator while enjoying the gifts of creativity. The harp without humility can flatter the proud. The iron without mercy can arm the violent. The city without reverence can become a monument to emptiness. Enoch grew between these two movements of the human heart. One movement said, "Let us call upon the Lord." The other said, "Let us make a name for ourselves." Those two movements have never fully disappeared from human history. They still whisper in every age. They whispered then beneath the young stars, and Enoch learned to recognize them. Perhaps as a young man he visited the edges of larger settlements. Perhaps he heard music drifting through the evening, beautiful and sad. Perhaps he saw bright tools in the hands of craftsmen and wondered at the skill God had allowed men to discover. Perhaps he watched strong men praised for taking what they wanted, and something within him recoiled. He did not hate the world, but he could not be at home in its pride. There are people who feel homeless long before they leave any place. Enoch may have been one of them. He belonged to his family. He belonged to his work. He belonged to the earth in the ordinary way all embodied people do. Yet deeper than that, he belonged to God, and that belonging made every lesser belonging both sweeter and less final. This is why his story can comfort the tired listener. You do not have to despise ordinary life in order to long for heaven. You can love the sound of rain on earth and still know that your heart was made for something beyond weather. You can love family, food, fields, and firelight, and still feel the ache for God. Enoch's longing did not make him less present. It made him more awake. When he walked through fields, he saw them as gift. When he ate bread, he tasted mercy. When he held a child, he felt responsibility before God. When he heard the boast of violent men, he did not merely feel disgust. He felt grief, because he knew what human beings were created to become. A world that forgets God does not become more human. It becomes less. Enoch saw this slowly, not as an abstract doctrine, but as daily observation. He saw how anger changed faces. He saw how greed sharpened eyes. He saw how lust made people restless. He saw how pride made listening almost impossible. And because he walked with God, he saw also the hidden ache beneath these sins. He knew that men chasing power were often men fleeing fear. He knew that those who mocked heaven were often trying to silence the unease within themselves. So his warnings were not flat. They were deep. They came from a man who understood both holiness and human sorrow. Now we can return again to the calm of his home, because long sleep stories need places of rest. Imagine Enoch after a day of speaking with difficult people. The sun has gone down. The sky still glows faintly at the horizon. The smell of cooked grain rests in the air. Methuselah, still young in this imagined moment, leans against his father's side. The child asks a question, perhaps not yet understanding the weight of his own name. Why do people turn away from God? Enoch might not answer quickly. He might look at the child's face, then toward the darkening sky. Because they forget that they are loved, he might say. Or because they want to be their own makers. Or because fear teaches the heart to grasp what only trust can receive. Then perhaps he grows quiet, because no single answer is enough. Children often accept silence more easily than adults. Methuselah may simply rest there, warmed by his father's presence. The fire shifts. Someone laughs softly nearby. The world for a moment feels held. This too belongs in the story. Not only prophecy, not only translation, the tenderness between father and son, the long patience of meals and evenings, the unrecorded kindnesses that make holiness visible. A man who walks with God should become safe for the vulnerable. Enoch, if his communion was true, would have been such a man. The child would not need to fear sudden cruelty from him. The weary would not fear being crushed by him. The guilty might fear truth, but not malice. The sorrowful might sit near him and feel that their grief had room to breathe. This is one way to recognize true nearness to God. It makes the soul spacious, not careless, not permissive. Spacious. There is room for truth, room for tears, room for repentance, room for waiting. Over many decades, such spaciousness becomes a reputation. People begin to know where they can bring certain questions. They may not always obey, but they know who has listened deeply. Enoch's name would have traveled not only because of his prophecy, but because of the strange peace around him. Some may have said, when he speaks, it feels as if another world is near. Others may have said, do not go to him unless you are ready to be unsettled. Both could be true. Peace is not always comfortable at first. Sometimes peace reveals how noisy we have become. And so the years moved. The long years, the slow years, the years in which children became parents, and parents became elders, and elders became stories. Enoch remained not unchanged in the shallow sense, but deepened, like a river that cuts a valley not by violence, but by faithful flowing. The presence of God shaped him over time. It is worth pausing over time itself. Modern hearts often want transformation quickly, a sudden answer, a dramatic sign, a before and after that can be named in a single sentence. But Enoch's life speaks another language. 300 years of walking, 300 years of returning, 300 years of listening. The miracle at the end is dazzling, but the miracle of the middle is just as great. To remain faithful over one season is beautiful. To remain faithful over many seasons is formation. To remain faithful while the world around you grows darker is witness. Enoch's life was witness long before he disappeared. Perhaps this is why the writer of Hebrews later says that before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased God. Before the marvel, there was testimony. Before being taken, there was pleasing. Before heaven received him, earth had already seen the shape of his faith. And what pleases God? Not performance without love, not fear without trust, not noise without obedience, faith. The kind of faith that believes God is present when the world feels loud. The kind of faith that believes God is good when judgment must be spoken. The kind of faith that seeks him not as a tool for success, but as the soul's home. Enoch had that faith. It did not make him famous in the way men measure fame. It made him pleasing in the sight of God, and in a world obsessed with being seen by one another. To be pleasing to God is a quieter and far deeper glory. Now let the story breathe again. Imagine an evening rain. Not a flood, not yet, not the great waters that would come in Noah's time, but a gentle rain falling on the roof of an ancient dwelling. The dust softens. The animals draw close. The family remains inside. The fire glows. Enoch listens to rain strike the earth, and perhaps he thinks of mercy again. Rain can bless, rain can cleanse, rain can also judge. The same water that feeds a field can, in another hour of history, cover a world. But this night, the rain is gentle. It taps softly. It slows the household. It makes the darkness feel enclosed and safe in such moments. A man who walks with God learns not to fear creation. He receives it. The rain belongs to God. The stars belong to God. The long life and the short breath belong to God. The future belongs to God. This is why Enoch could rest even while warning others. He did not carry the future as an owner. He carried the message as a servant. There is rest in knowing the difference. The servant speaks, then returns to the master. The servant weeps, then returns. The servant is rejected, then returns. The servant sees small fruit and gives thanks. The servant sees no fruit and remains faithful. Enoch returned again and again. And with every return, the path between his ordinary life and divine fellowship seemed to grow thinner. Not thinner in a dangerous way, but in a luminous way. Earth was still earth. Yet heaven was near. He could look at the ground and feel no contradiction between dust and glory. He knew man was formed from dust, but breathed into by God. This is the great tenderness of human beings. We are low and high at once, clay and breath, frail and desired, capable of violence, yet made for communion. Enoch lived as though the breath mattered more than the clay. Without despising the clay, he walked with his feet on soil and his heart open to heaven. And perhaps that is why death did not have the final ordinary word over him. Now the story begins to bend toward the day of his translation. But still we move slowly. A sleep story should not rush at the threshold. It should stand quietly, like someone pausing before a door with warm light beneath it. In the years before that day, Enoch may have sensed an increasing nearness. We cannot say. Scripture does not tell us that he knew beforehand. But a life of communion sometimes becomes sensitive to the smallest movements of grace. Perhaps his prayers grew quieter. Perhaps his family noticed a deeper stillness in him. Perhaps Methuselah, no longer a child, saw in his father's face a peace that seemed already half beyond the world. Or perhaps everything remained ordinary. That may be even more beautiful. The final morning may have come without announcement, because Enoch's life had already become announcement enough. Heaven did not need a parade. The friendship itself was the preparation. He rose. He walked. God was near, and then he was not. No one can describe the exact moment. The silence of Scripture is like a veil. But silence can be merciful. It prevents us from turning mystery into spectacle. It lets the wonder remain clean. Did the path brighten? Did the air change? Did Enoch feel one step become weightless? Did he see, in a single sudden opening, the fullness of the one he had walked with for centuries? We do not know. We only know that God took him, and sometimes, to know only that is enough. For Enoch, the transition may have been the gentlest of all journeys. One moment, the familiar path beneath his feet. The next, a truer country. One moment, the early earth with its grief and beauty. The next, the presence without shadow. One moment, walking by faith. The next, walking by sight. For those left behind, the day became a mystery they could never forget. Imagine Methuselah hearing that his father had not returned. Perhaps at first he is not afraid. Enoch often walked. Enoch often prayed. Enoch knew lonely places, but the hours lengthen. Someone goes out, then another. Paths are checked. Names are called. The air gives back no answer. The search spreads. A ridge, a grove, a stream, a hollow in the hills. Places where a man could stumble. Places where animals might pass. Places where robbers might hide, but nothing is found. No torn garment, no staff, no trace of harm. Only the path and the fading light. At last, perhaps, someone remembers the way Enoch spoke of God. Someone remembers the old peace in his face. Someone says, quietly, maybe he has been taken. The words settle over them. Taken, not stolen, not lost, taken by God. What can grief do with such a thing? It cannot become ordinary grief. It cannot say death has conquered. It cannot say the body lies below. It must make room for awe. It must learn to miss someone who is more alive than ever. That is a strange and holy sorrow. It is not empty of tears, but neither is it empty of hope. And as night falls on that first day without Enoch, perhaps his family sits beneath the same stars he loved. The fire burns low. No one speaks much. Methuselah looks toward the path again and again, though part of him already knows his father will not come back along it. The path has changed meaning. It no longer leads only from home to field. It has become a sign, a reminder that one man walked so closely with God that the walk did not stop at death's door. It passed beyond it. For generations afterward, that path may have been remembered. People may have pointed and said, there, or somewhere near there, Enoch was taken. Children may have walked it with wide eyes. Some may have treated it superstitiously. Others may have stood there and prayed. But the true meaning was never in the soil itself. The true meaning was in the life that had moved across it. Holy places are often made by holy attention. Enoch's path was holy because he walked it with God. Now, let the story widen again beyond one family. Word would spread, slowly at first, through kin, neighbors, travelers. Then farther, in the ancient world, stories traveled by mouths and memory. A trader might carry it to a settlement beyond the river. A visitor might bring it to a distant household. An old woman might tell it to children who would later tell their own. Have you heard of Enoch? The man who walked with God. The man who was not found. The man God took. Some would listen with wonder. Some with suspicion. Some with hunger. The story would become a test of the heart. Those already open to God would feel comfort. Those closed against God would feel irritation. Those standing in between might feel a question begin to grow. What if it is true? What if heaven is nearer than we thought? What if the old warnings are not madness? What if the God we have ignored still sees, still speaks, still takes pleasure in those who seek him? A story like Enoch's does not force belief. It invites it. It stands quietly, like a lamp in a window. Travelers may pass by. Some may ignore it. Some may be guided home. The pre-flood world, however, continued its downward road. Violence increased. Corruption deepened. The imagination of human hearts bent continually toward evil. Those are heavy words, and we need not hold them too tightly in a sleep story. But they belong to the background. Against such darkness, Enoch's life shines more softly and more strongly. A candle matters more in a dark room. His translation did not reform the whole world. Miracles do not always produce repentance. Sometimes people prefer explanations that protect their habits. Even the astonishing can be buried beneath appetite. The world went on, and Methuselah lived on, and Noah would one day be born into a generation that had still not learned. But God had not left himself without witness. There was Enoch behind Noah. There was Methuselah beside Noah. There was warning. There was patience. There was time. And in the deep structure of the story, there was mercy before judgment. This matters because it keeps the tone of the story from becoming harsh. The flood, when it came, was not sudden cruelty. It came after long patience. It came after testimony. It came after years and years of warning embodied in a man's life. In a son's name, in a family line that still remembered God. Enoch's story teaches that judgment is never God losing control. It is God answering what mercy has long endured. Yet for tonight, we let even that truth settle softly. We do not need to stand in the reign of Noah yet. We remain with Enoch, whose life is more path than storm. Path, footsteps, presence, peace. This is the rhythm we return to whenever the story grows heavy. The old world may be restless, but Enoch walks. Human pride may rise, but Enoch walks. Warnings may be rejected, but Enoch walks. A child may carry a name heavy with prophecy, but Enoch walks. And at the end, when others expect him to return as usual, Enoch walks beyond the edge of sight. There is something deeply restful in that image. No struggle, no final bed, no closing of the eyes in fear, only companionship continuing. In later generations, believers would look back on him as one of the great witnesses of faith, not because he built something visible, but because his life pleased God. That is a different kind of greatness. It cannot always be photographed, measured, counted, or displayed. It is known in heaven before it is known on earth. Such greatness is available in quiet forms. A person who forgives when bitterness would be easier. A person who prays when no one applauds. A person who keeps faith in a cynical age. A person who returns to God after weariness, after failure, after sorrow. Enoch's life does not say that everyone who walks with God will escape death as he did. His translation was rare, almost singular. A sign, rather than a pattern promised in the same outward way to all. But the deeper invitation is not rare. The invitation to walk with God remains open. That is the part of the story that comes close to the listener at night. Not the question, will I vanish like Enoch? But the quieter question, can I walk nearer than I have walked? Can I release some noise? Can I let tomorrow be held by God? Can I rest tonight without solving the whole world? The answer offered by the story is gentle. Yes, one step can be enough. A life is made of steps. Faith is often made of returning. Now the night in our story grows deeper. The old fires are dim. The ancient paths are silver beneath the moon. Somewhere, long before the flood, Methuselah still lives. Somewhere, the memory of Enoch moves from mouth to mouth. Somewhere, a child hears the story and looks up at the stars. Where did he go? The elder answering cannot point with certainty. Heaven is not a hill beyond the village. It is not a place one reaches by walking far enough along the river. Yet the elder may lift his eyes and say, God took him. And the child may fall asleep with that phrase like a small light in the mind. God took him, not darkness, not nothingness. God. There are phrases that hold more comfort than explanation. This is one of them, as the story drifts toward its close. Adam remembering the garden, Seth carrying mercy, Enosh calling upon the name of the Lord, generations passing faith by firelight, Jared naming his son Enoch, Jared naming his son Enoch. A boy listening, a young man walking at dawn, the world growing skilled and restless, cities bright but uneasy, music beautiful but not always grateful, iron strong but not always merciful. A father holding Methuselah, a prophet warning with tears behind his words, a man returning again and again to the quiet path. 300 years of companionship, one final morning, an empty path, a family searching, a world wondering, a testimony remaining. The images do not need to be forced into conclusion. They can float gently now. They can become part of the night. Perhaps the most soothing truth in Enoch's story is that he did not need to make himself eternal. He did not carve his name into a monument and hope the stone would outlast time. He did not gather armies to make people speak of him. He did not build a tower into the sky. He walked with the eternal, and that was enough. To be near the eternal is better than trying to become unforgettable on earth. Earth forgets many things. God forgets none of his own. So now, as you rest, let the ambition of the day loosen. Let the mind stop building towers. Let the heart stop arguing with shadows. The story does not ask you to become impressive before sleep. It invites you to become quiet. Quiet enough to receive breath. Quiet enough to notice mercy. Quiet enough to let the unseen be near. Imagine once more the path. It is night now. The moon is soft. The grass bends under a slow wind. No crowd is gathered. No voice is raised. There is only the remembered rhythm of footsteps, and the strange comfort of knowing that one human life, fragile and mortal by nature, became so joined in fellowship with God that death did not interrupt the walk. The path continues beyond the hill, beyond the field, beyond the reach of searching eyes, beyond the old world and its violence, beyond the flood that would later come, beyond every generation that told and retold the story. It continues into the hope that God is not distant from those who seek him. And now the story can become very quiet. There is no need for one more argument, no need for one more proof, no need to keep watch over every worry. The ancient witness has done its gentle work. Enoch walked with God. He pleased God. He was not found, because God had taken him. Let those words slow down inside you. Enoch walked with God. Pleased God. God took him. A life can be hidden and still holy. A path can be ordinary and still sacred. A night can be dark and still held. Your breath can soften. Your thoughts can loosen. The room can become quiet around you. The old world can fade into distance. The stars can remain. The path can remain. The presence can remain. And somewhere beyond sight, beyond fear, last edge of the known road, the walk goes on, softly, slowly, peacefully, into the deep mercy of God.